The Auburn Tigers cap off an incredible weekend of baseball.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsay Crosby of thebarnauburn.com, as well as a million other places covering baseball. Baseball's Lindsay Crosby joining us. Auburn beats Louisville 10-6, capping off a weekend where, Lindsay, I said they'd sweep. That was my prediction.
You did.
And, I mean, you couldn't ask for more, especially bouncing back after the disappointment of getting just plastered by Cincinnati. We said it'd be great for Auburn to bounce back. They did so time and time again. An incredible weekend, an incredible product they put on the field in Arlington.
Yeah, I mean, 5-1 on Friday, 8-5 on Saturday. This one being 10-6. I think the big thing, they've answered some questions about the offense, right? Like we were worried after the first four games were low scoring affairs. They have answered a lot of those questions. Auburn, for the most part, has been able to find that crooked inning, right? Find that inning where they put up a 3 or a 4, and it's not just single runs here and there. They've done that. The pitching, for the most part, has, like, when it matters, has continued to answer the question. You've seen in some of these blowouts some runs late, like just now. We probably should have been recording 20 minutes ago, but some late runs there from LJ Cormier. But for the most part, it kind of feels like now you've found that, hey, we do have an offense. The pitching is better than we thought they would be at this point. Now the answers you're answering are smaller, right? Or the questions you're answering are smaller. Like, we have to figure out the proper defensive alignment. We have to figure out who needs to play where to give us the best chance to put up a decent offense. Like, it's about a piece here, a piece there, and not do we have an offense in general. And that's a good place to be after just 2 weeks, to already have narrowed down from big questions to small questions.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of continue the discussion about pitching, Alex Petrovic today looked pretty good, Lindsay. And there's always kind of questions on that third starter. Doesn't matter how good of a team you have. There's always going to be questions about that third guy. Small sample size, but the 2 outings we've seen so far from all of the starters, including Alex today. You said it before we click go live, but these guys, they're missing bats consistently. And they've had some quality starts, and you can't really ask for much more at this point.
Yeah, Petro gives up 3 runs today, which was a little, it was fine, right? 5 strikeouts, 6 hits. The big thing for me when you look at Alex Petrovic is the 2 things he's not doing. The first thing he's not doing is he's not walking guys. He's pitched 10 innings. I'm trying to do the math in my head real quick. He's faced just about 100 batters. He's walked none of them. Yeah, he's given up. He has 7 hits on the season, 1 double, 1 home run. All of the rest are singles. So he's not walking guys, and he's not giving up a ton of extra base hits. And so to me, that's the big deal. I would have loved to have seen him get more swing and miss today, but he got enough, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's a 6-pitch mix. He's got all 3 fastballs. He's got 2 breaking balls and a changeup. And so he's mixing them not only to each individual batter, but as he gets into the second time through the order, doing something different than what he did the first time. So, and that's your number 3 starter. And I guess technically it's probably not, because Griffin Graves has been out. You don't have Griffin Graves. You don't have Chris Rembert, and Auburn still goes 3-0 this weekend.
Yeah, against 2 ranked teams. I can't imagine Louisville staying ranked. We'll see what happens with FSU. Funny enough, FSU is about to play Auburn's opponent this upcoming weekend, Nebraska.
Yeah.
On that very same field. I think if FSU wins, they'll probably stay ranked. But it looks great.
If they'll fall far enough to fall out, because they did win on Friday. I think that they might be closer to 25 if they lose. I don't know if they fall out completely.
Louisville?
No, Florida State. Sorry.
Okay, but Louisville's there's no way Louisville's ranked, right?
They've already lost they lost all 3 on the weekend, yeah, they're going to fall out.
Yeah.
They're going to fall out.
Yeah.
They're
Curious to see what
ranked
happens with
now
FSU.
because they were ranked in preseason. It's just kind of like football, right? They were ranked in preseason, so therefore they came into this ranked, but they're on a 4-game losing streak now, so they're probably out.
Yeah, right. But yeah, funny enough, FSU, who Auburn beat yesterday, is about to play who you're hosting next weekend, Nebraska. So maybe continue watching that one if you're interested in that at all. So Bristol Carter has been unbelievable. He's been so good. And yeah, I know Chris Rembert's that dude, but like you gotta leave Bristol Carter at leadoff at this point, right? With what he did this weekend, you can't touch that. You can't touch it.
Yeah, we said it over the weekend on Friday night after that game, right? He's finding ways to get on base. And then when he gets on base, he's causing havoc. And so when you bring Rembert back, it does really feel like, yeah, you just bump everybody down a spot. Instead of having Guevara bat second, he bats third. Instead of having Freilich bat third, he cleans up. Brandon McCrane, if that's who you end up keeping, goes from 4th to 5th. Bob Terrell, where do you fit him in there? Because like today, he's 2 for 5 today, and he steals a base also while he's out there. He does strike out once, but the speed that he brings and just how it messes with the pitcher going forward. Auburn also did a lot of really interesting stuff on the base paths today to get Louisville to make mistakes. We kind of talked about that in the
Bub
preview.
Terrell. Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah. So Bub Terrell gets thrown out on the base paths twice, and I guarantee you he is not getting in trouble for that at all. This is a thing, and I've kind of, just because I'm a baseball nerd, I've been watching a lot of MLB teams not properly understand how to handle the situation with a runner on first and a runner on third. Bub was the guy in both situations. Auburn put him into motion trying to bait Louisville to throw to second base. They did every time. Bub then got himself into a rundown so the runner on third could score. MLB teams can't get this right. Louisville did it wrong the first time and then turned around and did it wrong again. So kudos to Auburn for either scouting and knowing that they were not prepared to handle that play, or having the chutzpah to do it again, to run it a second time in the game and get runs off of it. And that kind of shows you how, yes, the offense is picked up, but the coaching staff is still looking for every individual edge, every tiny little margin that they can find to get this team the win. And kudos to them. Kudos to Bub for understanding and being able to sacrifice his personal stats to get these runs across, because he got marked for a caught stealing twice, and in reality, not his fault at all.
Yeah, it was by design, right?
By design.
Do you think that's a Bub Terrell thing, or do you think that's the situation in the game, like he just it just happened to be a coincidence that it was him both times?
It had to have, the coaches have had to be involved, because the guy at third needs to know that you're doing it. It wasn't necessarily a situation where the runner at third was off when Bub was off, but the runner at third both times was well aware, I need to get off the bag, I need to be closer to home, and the minute that throw goes down, I need to take off. So they were aware of it. It had to be called by the coaching staff. But at the very least, I'm sure Bub knew about it. I'm curious to find out if they've practiced that, if that's something they saw on film, or if they just said, hey, this is a thing we're going to try here.
Yeah, it worked out. Glad they did it. Because it kind of happened in that final inning, or I guess it wasn't the final inning. What inning would that have been? The 7th? That's where Auburn really kind of...
The big inning, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a dag. I think they scored 5 runs in the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that was the 4th run. The only bad part about that is they get the 4th run of the inning on that, and then the very next batter, Ethan Bingaman, homers. And so had you not run the play, theoretically, you would have gotten, an additional run out of the home run, but you can't bet on the home run. And I like that Auburn wasn't betting on this dude's going to give up a home run. We've already scored 3 runs this inning. We're going to keep trying to find ways to score and just get that kill shot. And they got the kill shot.
All right. So an interesting situation has now emerged as far as how you handle certain parts of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into that. And then also let's look ahead for this Auburn baseball team next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. I would take grape, Lindsay. What flavor of 5-hour energy would you take with the number one pick?
Hawaiian Breeze. Reminds me of having a drink on the beach, but also tons of energy.
Yep, that's right. That's right. You can find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole 9 yards. Visit FanDuel.com to get started and use that profit boost. Bet on the Thunder. Bet on the Thunder to win it all. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Lindsay, Crosby, I mean, early in the season, especially with how young this roster is, there's going to be surprises. Bristol Carter, I think, is partly a surprise. He was okay last year. I mean, he's been unbelievable to start the season. Hopefully that's sustainable. Ethan Bingaman, how is he not a key part of this lineup moving forward? And how do you kind of see them shaping this lineup now? Because he has to be a part of it.
I think the two things you've learned is that Ethan Bingaman has to be a part of the lineup and Brandon McCrane has to be part of the lineup. And so it feels like the default. The cool thing about Bingaman is he can, I remember Butch talking about this. He can play a lot of different places. He can be in a lot of different spots. They have him at first base right now, but it feels like Bingaman there and then McCrane at second is kind of the default for right now. When Rembert gets back, then the question is, do you put McCrane at third in place of Todd Clay and put Guevara at short? Todd Clay's really having a tough start to the season. Yeah. Bingaman can play some corner outfield as well. So they could always do something where they have him in the corner outfield while you have, Cade's a little banged up, kind of feels like perpetually a little banged up. And so you can have Bub, you can have Bristol Carter, and you can have Bingaman as your three outfielders. A lot of flexibility, but it feels like you have to keep Bristol at leadoff for right now. And then you got to find a way to keep Bingaman and McCrane's bats in the lineup every day. I don't love the shortstop defense if you use Guevara at short or if you use McCrane at short. I do think Ryan Farber's the much better defensive shortstop. But Butch told me right before the season, he is more open to sacrificing a little bit of defense to get the best offensive lineup on the field. Right. And that's not always been his thing because he's a pitching-minded coach. He's wanted the best defense possible. He's kind of adjusted the way that he thinks about this in recent, like coming into this season because other SEC teams have successfully made that trade-off and it's not really hurt them that much. So I wonder, do you maybe see McCrane at short, Guevara at short? I do think that might be a continuing thing with the other one at third, and maybe giving Todd Clay a little bit of a break.
I mean, how do you handle a cold start like this if you're Butch dealing with Todd Clay? Is it 0 for 15?
I believe he's 0 for yes, he is 0 for 15 on the season. He does have 2 walks, but he has 8 strikeouts. And I think that's the big thing. It's not just that he doesn't have a lot of hits. Lucas Steele's 2 for 15, but Lucas Steele's also drawn 5 walks, right? He's gotten the sacrifice and got runners in. Todd Clay is 0 for 15 with 8 strikeouts. I do think there's probably one. It's a little bit of, we need to just check into the mechanics. Is it timing? Is it, mechanically, is he out of sorts? Honestly, I've seen this happen in MLB sometimes. Give him a vision test. You'd be surprised how many guys find out they've all of a sudden developed a vision issue because they have
he's wearing goggles, right?
I don't know if they're prescription or not. I assume they are. Maybe that's just him adjusting to them. But
I don't know.
But you've got that, and
this
then you also
goggles. By the way, that's what this was.
Yeah. That was nice. And then you also have the personality, right? Like he's a senior. He's a transfer in. You feel a little better about going to a senior and saying, "Hey, it's been tough right now. We're gonna kind of maybe back off a little bit on the weekend. We're gonna let you play some midweeks. We're gonna let you come in for defense and stuff. We're gonna keep you involved, but we've got to prioritize the lineup that will win us games. It's different if it's a freshman, right? Because you can kind of go to a freshman and say, "Hey, man, it's fine. That's on us. We're going to go ahead and do some other stuff." The senior, you're a little bit more. Butch is a little more understanding of this is probably his last chance to play organized baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to find ways to get him involved. When he's on, Todd Clay is fantastic. It's a big dude who can hit bombs and steal bases. But right now, he's incredibly cold, and you've got to find a way to get him out of that while not sacrificing the team's chances of winning to do it.
All right. Before we look ahead to what's next for this team, Lindsay, anything else from either today's game or this weekend that we need to kind of drop a few more notes on?
Auburn's kind of been successful with their plan of not going too deep into the pitching staff, right?
Yeah.
They put LJ Cormier in today because it was a blowout and they had to come back with Garrett Brewer to get the save and get a strikeout. But for the most part, they've been able to get through these games with only 3 or 4 starters. And by comparison, in that, I think it was the 7th inning, the 5-run 7th inning, Louisville used 3 pitchers in that inning alone. So the pitching plan is working, and it makes you feel good about, one, the workloads of some of these guys, both being able to build up as starters and also not burning out some of your relief arms early in the year because guys have short outings because you're able to piggyback successfully. So credit there to our pitching coach and what he's tried to do here this year.
Yeah.
Shut up, Keith.
And so let's kind of now pivot to what's going to happen next for the Auburn Tigers. And they host West Georgia on Wednesday night. That'll be a 6:00 first pitch from Plainsman Park.
Wednesday, everybody, not Tuesday. Just heads up on that. It's I believe that's a basketball adjustment because basketball plays on Tuesday, so they're trying to keep them separate for television reasons. But because it's Wednesday, that means you get the Camel back. It's Hump Day, and the Camel will be at Plainsman Park again. I forget what the name is, but the Camel's back.
Yep, love that. And then, like we mentioned earlier, the team that is about to take the field right where Auburn just won, Nebraska comes to Plainsman Park. They have not looked good.
No.
They won their first 3 games of the year, and then they lost their final game in the MLB Desert Invitational against Stanford after beating UConn, Northeastern, and Grand Canyon. And then they're at the same event that we're at. They lost to Louisville, lost to Kansas State, and then they play FSU. So funny enough, both Auburn and Nebraska playing the same teams. And then Nebraska comes to Auburn, which may have been why they did that, is because Nebraska was already on the schedule for Auburn. I'm not sure, but would make sense. Wouldn't make sense to play them in Arlington than to play them in Auburn a few days later. But I mean, transitive property only means so much. But if you're looking at that and you subscribe to that, Auburn is in a much better spot than Nebraska this weekend.
Yeah, Nebraska's really struggled from the mound. They've only had 2 guys who were able to make starts on both weekends so far. And outside of Carson Jaza, it's hard to say his name. Outside of him, none of these pitchers are really good at getting swing and miss, right? Okay. They have one of their relievers. They've already thrown, like 3 times. He's like 5, it's almost 6 innings, 4 strikeouts. A lot of their other starters are not really clearing 1 strikeout an inning, things like that. And then from the position player side, they're also I think they've attempted 2 stolen bases as a team. They're really kind of reliant on the home run. They've hit a grand total of 4 this year. So part of the reason they have the issues there, they're not running the bases really well. The speed isn't really there. And they just got a bunch of guys who are hitting 222, 158, 091, even like a 269, which in non-con play is not necessarily great. So, again, 3-3, we'll see what they do today, but probably a legit 3-3. And it's not a bad draw if you're playing a power conference opponent in week 3 for Auburn. It's not a bad draw to get a really Nebraska team versus somebody who could be hot like a Stanford or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this team certainly seems gettable. I'm almost more intrigued for the midweek just because I want to see if their approach is that much different, because clearly Cincinnati is going to be more equipped to handle Auburn than West Georgia is. But
Yeah,
I want to see like a noticeable difference just because last week was so brutal for this team. And it sounds like Butch got after them. I want to see if they have a different approach, if there's more spirit, more energy tied to what they're going to do in the midweek.
Yeah, I imagine they'll be a little more, they'll keep up the creativity they showed in Arlington as far as finding ways to manufacture offense, whether it's surprise bunts, whether it's the first and third running play, things like that. Andreas Alvarez is probably going to get the midweek start again. So I imagine they're going to try to let him go. And I probably take the lineup and give some of the guys who have been struggling a little bit, probably give them an opportunity in this game. And then understanding you can always sub them out later, right? Like you might see Todd Clay start at third base or first base in this one. You might see, Lucas Steele be in the game because he's only got a couple hits, and just give them a chance to get out of this. Outside of when you play Alabama State, this is probably one of your easier midweeks. So they probably give some of these struggling guys a chance to get out there and break the skid and get back into a good hitting state before you head to Nebraska or before you take on Nebraska over the weekend.
So we should be live after that. We'll also be live after
Wednesday.
Auburn basketball Tuesday. So a lot of live stuff happening throughout the week this week. And we should be able to probably be live after Friday and Sunday this upcoming weekend. We got to look at the schedules and see what all that looks like. So Lindsay, how can folks check out how can folks check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. The Auburn baseball coverage, obviously, one here to thebarnauburn.com. We had a huge thread over the weekend. All the notes. I dropped the links to the StatCast pages from MLB for this series. That was fun. And then the Barn Baseball Show and the Atlanta Braves coverage, bravestoday.com and the Braves Today podcast.
Yep. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.